Okay, let's start the show.
It's February 20th, 2014. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. I'm Will Smith. Seated directly to my left, Norman Chan. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right.
No headphones again today, huh?
I'll put my headphones on when we ask questions.
Living on the edge.
Is that for looks?
It's for comfort.
Norm doesn't like his hair messed up.
Do you remember the old Lobot days? I used to put my headphones on like that. Lobot
But then
style.
your wires stick
But
out
then
at
the
top.
wires tickle my cheeks.
Yeah, it's not for looks.
And I don't like that.
No, that doesn't make you look cooler. Jeremy Williams is here. How you doing, Jeremy?
I'm good, thanks.
I think we have to introduce you as successfully funded Kickstarter guy, Jeremy Williams. The Game Frame is funded in like 4 hours or a day or something like that. It was
got
crazy
funded
fast.
4.5 hours, yeah.
That was insane.
Crazy. This whole week and a half has been a blur.
It's only been a week and a half.
It has.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, so you posted the Game Frame. If people only listen to the podcast, you came in and showed an early prototype on Tested. What, maybe a year ago almost?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And then, what is it? Can you explain it?
Oh, God.
Real briefly.
No, not good.
Not again.
Good,
Okay.
not good or
Not
briefly.
again. Not a good.
It's this.
Okay.
It's a 16 by 16 grid of LEDs.
Pixels.
Pixels, I should say, yeah. And the pixels are super bright and super isolated from each other, and it's a way to show old school video game artwork on your wall or your desk, or pixel art of any kind.
If you put pixel art on it, it looks dope.
Yeah, it ships with a bunch of stuff from eBoy.
Okay.
And they're like the godfathers of pixel.
Yeah, they make all those isometric, cool, like cityscapes,
Yeah.
and among other things.
The semantics of pixel is also interesting because as we get to higher resolution displays, pixel and in terms of web design, pixel means different things.
Does it
Technically,
really?
Yes. Yep.
Explain.
There's a standard pixel in CSS, so it scales. So like when you do things like eBoy art and it renders on a page, it does not get smaller as the screen display gets higher. Now, technically, the pixel is 1 point on a LCD, and on a CRT, I guess the lines of resolution that's aligned to the pixel, but it doesn't necessarily work with the different DPIs and different scalings.
I don't understand what you just said at all.
No, he's right. Like the old school, the Atari and stuff, they work in scan lines. And so you got these lines that go across and it turns on and off, but it's completely different than computer monitors.
Yes.
Than a
But-
modern LCD, flat panel.
But
is what
so
you're
if you
talking
play old school games in MAME, those are real pixels. That's what it kind of looks like.
Yeah, it also. I also recently discovered that MAME is a very touchy subject for arcade aficionados and looked down upon.
For this
about.
reason.
Oh, did you talk to Steve about this?
He referred me to some people. Yes.
I had an extended conversation with him about PAX that kind of he turned me on it. I
Really?
originally was like, I think I'm going to build a MAME cabinet, Steve. He was like, and I said, you realize if you want these games to continue living beyond, because the thing is, the boards that make especially the first couple of generations of arcade games have a finite lifespan.
They weren't meant to go more than a few years because then the operators would toss them.
Right. They were disposable
Exactly.
and designed to be disposable.
Exactly.
And the fact that they're still working is a testament to the collectors and the archivists. But at some point in the future, and it's an indeterminate period of time in the future, the original boards are not going to work anymore. Then there's probably not much we can do to stop that. So at that point, either you have to look for, people who have in the emulation scene. And Wes Fenlon wrote a great story about the emulating the SNES. Last year or the year before? It seems like
Last
a long
year.
time ago.
XRGB
Yeah.
Mini.
And it's a really complex topic. But he talked me out of building a MAME cabinet.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
too bad because I'm on the old Will side, which was the emulation gets you enough.
Close enough.
And you know what? Emulation is always improving.
That's true.
There's a lot of filters now to give it that old school scanline.
Oh,
look.
I'm not talking about the visual look, because the
Oh,
yes,
you mean
you're
the
right.
accuracy.
The accuracy in
Yeah.
terms of using more computational power to simulate logic.
Yes.
in
To
those boards.
simulate a tiny ancient 8 megahertz processor.
Pinball, by the way, completely different. Pinball emulation is its own thing. It has no relation to real pinball.
Well, you have one of those tables with the big TV and it cranks sideways, right?
No, I don't.
Oh, it's not a thing you're supposed.
I mean, I think it would be great, but it's its own thing. I mean, it's like you hear the sounds of pinball and you sort of get this simulated physics feel of playing
For
it,
someone
but
who-
not the same thing.
It's so funny because you're into old arcades and pinball. You're into virtual reality, into MAME, but not into virtual pinball.
I have my limitations.
So
Lauren.
here's the thing about virtual pinball. When those pinball games for Xbox and iPad came out, went in and I was like, oh man, I love this. I can play a bunch of the tables that I really love, like Theater of Magic and some stuff I'd never played in person before, like Black Hole.
Yeah.
Space Cadet.
Yeah, and then I went to
no.
what's Space Cadet?
That's the one that was built into Windows.
Oh yeah, no,
Space
I-
Ace
I
or whatever.
played
No, Space something.
Space.
I don't know, Space
yeah.
Cadet.
Anyway, I played a bunch of those old tables, and then I went to either Ground Control in Portland or PAX, where they bring a bunch of tables.
Yeah.
And I played the actual tables. I was like, oh shit, this is what the real world feels like. Even on really well maintained, great tables,
Right.
like the physics were too good. Like everything was too smooth. The ball didn't have enough friction. Like the sim games aren't simmy enough,
Right.
to feel right.
Now, I mean, if I were working for those companies, I would be the guy saying, let's incorporate some sort of deterioration to the
Yeah.
table so that the ball actually changes, the ball play actually changes over time.
The ball needs to move slower.
And
the
then
more
Come on,
people
advanced
play.
modeling.
and then you could shop the game,
Yeah.
like virtually. And
Yeah.
maybe that's like a microtransaction.
yeah, your microtransaction is buying new
Oh,
lacquer.
you're a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
buying your
Wax your table.
Right.
Oh.
You could do it yourself, but you have to sit on the iPad and do this for like 2 hours.
rub your fingers on the
Yeah.
iPad.
Circles. It's always circles.
Yep. There we go.
Well, so congratulations. If
Thanks.
people want to know more, they can find out about the game frame. We'll have a video on Tested real soon.
A lot of
been up, yep.
your watchers and listeners already know about it.
Right.
And I have them to thank primarily for all of the success. Thank you. You guys are awesome.
Gamefray.me.
Yeah, well, that's the redirect. Yeah, it's if just type GameFrame into your browser and then put a period before the ME.
Okay.
GameFray.me.
What's ME a top level domain for?
I don't know.
Mesopotamia?
I don't know.
Meridian?
There's one of my backers donated the URL.
Really?
Completely altruistic.
That's awesome.
Completely altruistically. His name's Adam.
That's fantastic.
Props. Thank you so much.
Speaking of things that are wonderful, did you guys see this weekend thousands upon thousands of people playing Pokemon on Twitch? Did
Yeah,
you see this?
chat room Pokemon.
No.
Crowdsource Pokemon.
It was amazing. It's
the
I think it's
wisdom
still
of the
going.
crowds.
So explain how it worked, Norm, because it's kind of weird.
So people watched a Pokemon stream. So it wasn't like MMO Pokemon, in that it was a modified Pokemon game with lots of characters playing in it. Not like that at all. But it was one single Pokemon game, a legit real Pokemon game, and people in the chat room inputted what they wanted the character to do: move left, move right, press A, and in aggregate, I'm not exactly sure how they chose the action, but it moved the character, and
Because it's turn based, like it kind of works. So everybody would say go up or go east or go west or whatever, and then the character would either based on timing or based on calculating votes or whatever would do the thing.
So there was some sort of electronic voting.
It's unclear what the mechanism is behind it because, like,
I don't think it's unclear. I just don't know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did not participate.
Okay.
But you could watch a Twitch stream with
on Friday it was like 1,000 people, and by Monday
Yeah.
morning it was 40,000 or something insane.
and also they messed up. They had to restart the game at one point.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
So that was
That's
something.
that's kind of cool.
It was kind of was it emulated? It seemed like it must have been emulated because the capture looked really good.
Oh, this is not an official Nintendo.
Oh, Nintendo and the internet? Are you kidding?
Yeah, you're right.
They don't put trailers on YouTube.
Sorry, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I thought it was nice to see a bunch of people working together for the common good.
I guess you could also watch that on your Xbox or PlayStation 4.
Yeah,
Watch a
'cause-
Twitch stream
if you wanted
yeah.
to cross the streams.
if you wanted to watch a emulated Nintendo game on your Xbox.
Can you watch? I don't think you can see PS4 streams on your Xbox and vice versa.
I don't have either of those consoles.
I see.
So I'm moving into unfamiliar territory.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that. I'm interested. Suddenly. On to real.
I think that's going to pave the way for future collaborative type wisdom of the crowd source gamings in RPGs. Not just, I mean, Pokemon is a great touchstone for people, but I think we're going to see a lot of it. It's going to be a new Twitch phenomenon. I don't know how long it will last, but we'll see a wave of this type of game.
It kind of reminds me of Salty Bet. Have Giant Bomb talked about this a lot earlier last year, I guess. But Salty Bet is a thing that uses this weird fighting. I'm going to mess this up, so I apologize in advance. But it uses a kind of a third-party fighting game engine that lets you put characters from different fighting games and pit them against each other. It relies on people to create the characters, so you can make your favorite character with crazy high stats and make him impossible to defeat, or you can try to build something that's a reasonable approximation, or you can just make something from the universe that's not even in a fighting game. So you can pull like a Luke Skywalker icon from, whatever. And Salty Bet takes this fighting game engine and puts a web front end that lets people vote on the fights and bet on the fights. So you start out with a base amount of currency. It's super weird.
But the fight is somehow done automatically.
The fight is done automatically. It runs 24 hours a day. I know people have gotten really badly hooked on this.
Wow.
And it ends up being this weird thing because your knowledge in the real world is useless. Because the people can create characters that are wildly out of whack with your expectations. And because the character sizes affect the hitboxes, it gets really crazy. The upshot is this Twitch thing kind of is the next step of that weird community web.
I wonder how the
game.
Pokemon aficionados think about the actual game that was played. Like, if it made sense, did they make the right choices? I'd like to see this done with chess and see how the different sides
They've done it with
have compared.
chess.
With that number of people?
Yes. So, and it was controversial because in chess they had this entire country. They use IPs.
Oh.
And so they had I'm not sure exactly which country. I'm gonna say Iceland versus a master player. And the master player would play, and then they had all the chess aficionados in one country.
That's super fascinating. So who won?
But it was hacked.
Wait, what?
IPs were spoofed, and bad moves were made intentionally, and it was
They
controversial.
torpedoed?
Yep.
Poor Iceland.
I don't know if it was Iceland or not, but it was the country that was playing. Was outrageous.
Should we talk about real technology news? Real technology news. That's what we're known for.
Can you turn
here.
up my headphones a little bit?
Yeah, I can turn up your headphones a little bit.
Thank you.
Did you guys see the news about Comcast and Time Warner?
That was the biggest news last week.
This is the biggest news. Happened after we recorded the podcast. It seems that Comcast and Time Warner are going to try to merge and become one. The general consensus that I read, so that would make Comcast is already the largest ISP. It would make them the largest ISP. I think they're also the largest telephone provider now because of the triple play thing. They're the largest cable provider. So adding Time Warner, which I think was the second largest cable provider in the country, would make them by far the largest cable provider and phone provider and all that other stuff.
Yes.
What do you guys? Do you think this is a good thing or a bad thing, guys?
Whatever. It's a bad thing, but it's to be expected because this is what happens. We get monopolies that become more of a monopoly, and then they get split up, antitrust, and it seems like a cycle that happens.
Well, so the argument I saw, which I tend to agree
And
with,
this is Time Warner Cable.
Time Warner Cable.
Just the cable company.
Yeah.
Not Time Warner, like Warner Brothers.
Right.
Well, AOL, Time Warner split off. Time Warner Cable are two different things.
CWC.
I understand it now, yeah. Still, Time Warner Cable is the second largest ISP and cable provider, is my understanding. Or if not the second largest, then close to it.
It's not like Comcast owns Batman.
Well, Comcast owns Alec Baldwin, so why don't they own? They could get Batman too, right?
So how is this possibly a good thing?
Comcast had a page listing how it could possibly be a good thing. I didn't really. My reaction to this was, I can't wait to see what Comcast and Time Warner say to make us think this is a good thing. And then they actually had a post. I'll find it and read it. the consensus is it's going to pass FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, because there's very little overlap in areas that they service, because most of the nation only has one ISP, or one cable company that services it.
Yeah.
East Coast, West Coast. So I mean, we have no Time Warner out here, so it doesn't really affect us. But as a whole, who knows?
So here's what Comcast says. I'm clicking through to the link.
I remember back in the day when my friend and I were thinking of starting our own ISP.
Oh, I did. I had that talk.
Yeah.
In like
What
1994, 1995.
Yeah, about
Yeah.
then.
So that's before DSL.
Or earlier.
You're talking about dial-up days.
Oh, yeah.
And what would be the process logistically of setting up your own ISP?
You rent a server and you hook up, a bunch of modems, and you get a room and you get a bunch of nodes, and you set up an ISP.
And
I think that the math was you need 10% of your users need to be able to access it at once.
yeah.
Oh, so because it's dial-up, so
Yeah.
the number of modems you have is
Was
the number
finite.
of people that you could serve
Exactly,
total.
yeah.
So if you want to sell to 100 subscriptions, then you need 1,000 modems.
Yeah.
No.
Oh no, 10 no.
Other way
At
around.
least 10
Reverse it.
modems.
No, I think you're right. You have 1,000
you want-
subscriptions, you need 10%, which would be 100 modems.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what we figured
So-
out.
and
But
that
it
was
what,
a
$20
good
a
rate?
month then.
Seemed like a good way to make money, but you can't do
But
that.
that's a good rate. Like not 10% of. I mean, I guess back then people really didn't connect to the internet 24/7,
Right.
like they do now. So
But you
it's-
couldn't because it took over your phone line.
So what was the like? Were there studies about where the in demand periods were, like in the nights when everyone's playing StarCraft? Is that when
This was pre-StarCraft,
I
man.
guess pre-StarCraft, Warcraft, this Warcraft?
This is like pretty doomed.
This is like Quake days.
well, for me, it was earlier.
Oh,
I mean,
So you're buying a server and that server connects just to the internet at large.
yeah, I think you had like an ISDN line or T1 probably.
Frame relay was the other way to do it.
So,
And
it's
so
like a
you're
fractional
paying for a
T1.
more expensive internet connection.
much more.
And
But it works out. At the time there were a lot of mom and pops ISPs, a ton of them. Like you could at any city you could just look in the phone book and get.
There was a huge acquisition period in the late
Yeah.
90s as all the dial-up ISPs were bought by AOL and what was the other one? What was they were orange. I don't remember what the
Earthlink?
name of the Earthlink, yeah.
Earthlink, AOL, what are the other big ISPs? Net Zero,
No, Net Zero was
Juno.
those were
Juno
free.
email.
I never had Juno email.
Juno email was email without needing internet. It would just dial in and download your email. It's free.
Yeah.
What was your plan to make money on this, or hope to be bought out by AOL?
Make money, man. Yep. Just go
20
into
bucks a
business
month?
first. I mean,
25 bucks a month for dial-up?
We never got that far. We didn't actually rent space or anything, but it was a good idea. But a short-lived idea. It's not like we would have been doing it today.
Yeah.
I was like that. Boy, I mean, in hindsight, if we thought that there'd be mom and pop
Forever.
ISPs forever.
Yeah,
'Cause that's how it
as
was.
most
Like
business
$20 a
ideas
month.
happen to be, they only last.
Maybe someday I'll get a second phone line so I can be online more often.
Or have a shotgun modem.
What's a shotgun modem?
Oh, a shotgun modem can connect two lines at once and get 112K.
No way.
You connect. It's a modem.
Why can't-
Diamond made one that you have two phone jacks, two lines in, basically a dual modem, and in the hardware it would combine the streams. But you would need two phone lines you pay for monthly and two dial-up
Two
connections,
accounts.
2 accounts.
Why can't I do that with DSL or cable?
You can.
You can.
You
Technically.
have to have. Nobody has modems that do that because it's easier to just like with DOCSIS 3. You have headroom. You have more headroom
Yeah,
on the
cable doesn't
DOCSIS
make
3
sense
spec
'cause you're
than
on-
they're willing to give you right now anyway.
Yeah. On cable, you're on the same line anyway.
With DSL, you can totally do that.
DSL
it's a way that businesses get faster internet. Like in our old offices, we had 2 or 3 DSL lines bound before we moved.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, isn't there software now on phones that lets you download from both Wi-Fi and your cellular at the same time?
That seems crazy. That seems like an Android thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't
you
know.
wouldn't know.
I found the article. Oh, here we go.
The unbiased.
Wow,
The unbiased.
Comcast made that real easy to
FAQ.
find.
There's one FAQ, and it is, why is this a good thing?
Jesus. Okay, here we go. This transaction will create a leading technology and innovation company differentiated by its ability to deliver groundbreaking products on a superior network while leveraging a national platform to create operating efficiencies and economies of scale. Doesn't that just warm your consumer heart?
Woo!
I love being part of an economy of scale. It'll create a $1.5 billion in operating efficiencies and will be accretive, I don't even know what that word means, to Comcast's free cash flow per share while preserving balance sheet strength. The merger, hold on, but wait, it gets better. The merger will also be tax-free to Time Warner Cable shareholders.
So this is all why it's good for shareholders.
This is why it's good for Comcast.
Oh, no.
EPS.
This is great.
The combination of Time Warner Cable and Comcast creates an exciting opportunity for our company, for our customers, and for our shareholders, said Brian L. Roberts, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer, Comcast Corporation. Whenever I hear his name, I think of the guy from 30 Rock now, the Cabletown guy.
Super smiley dude.
Hey, man, we're all hugs in Philadelphia. In addition to creating a world-class company, this is a compelling financial and strategic transaction for our shareholders. Shareholders first. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah,
Now the
blah,
blah's
blah,
coming.
blah, 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 blah.
All right.
I'm getting to the part where they talk about consumer. I'm just going to search for consumers. Okay, there's one mention of consumers, two mentions of... here we go. Through this merger, more American consumers will benefit from technological innovations, including a superior video experience, higher broadband speeds, and the fastest in-home Wi-Fi. The transaction will also generate significant cost savings, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I got nothing. It's a complete disaster. First off, a superior video experience over cable is bullshit. Jeremy, weren't you saying you got an antenna hooked up to your TV and were stunned by the picture?
Well, yeah, no, the over-the-air HD digital signal is superior to any cable or satellite signal. It's like a beautiful 20 megabit signal.
I kind of want to compare HBO Go to the Comcast HBO bitrate.
It's got to be quad the bitrate. I mean, it's beautiful. I
like the Comcast HBO Go or HBO over the HBO Go app.
We only do this though because we wanted to watch the Olympics.
Yeah.
And you can't do that unless you have a cable provider.
Yeah.
You have to be able to log in order to watch it online.
All of the online stuff you have to authenticate with your cable network, which is bullshit.
I mean, we would have paid for it, but instead we bought a Radio Shack antenna, and that's fine.
So you don't pay for cable at home?
Nada.
Getting NBC in San Francisco is hard too because it comes from the South Bay.
Yeah, we lucked out. We haven't tried the antenna in our new house until the Olympics, and it's a good signal.
Good. So anyway, general consensus is it's a bad thing for people. There's nothing we can do to stop it. The last time Comcast tried to acquire another big company, which was NBC, a couple of people on the board of people at the FTC that ended up being Comcast executives with massive salaries 6 months after that merger was greenlit. So good luck. Congratulations, guys, on the FTC acquisitions board, I guess. That is a peach political seat. Sony sold 5.3 million PS4s before the Japan launch, which I think is coming up this week or next, right?
Wow, it blows my mind that PS4 is not launched in Japan.
Isn't that ironic? I love it.
That it launched here first?
Yeah.
Well, think about it. Who's going to compete with Sony in Japan?
No, I get it from a business standpoint, but poor things were made there. And the guys over there, they have to import them if they want to play them.
You think they make them there? I bet they make them in China now.
Oh, I suppose you're right.
Yeah. I just thought that was 5.3 million. I wonder if there were 5.3 million PS3s made in this time period. Because remember, by the time we reached February after the last generation of console launch, it was still hard to get an Xbox 360 because I was trying to buy one. And I don't think you could even get PS4s by then. I mean, PS3s by then. That stuff was tough to find. So, I mean, good on Sony for shipping and selling 5.3 million.
Doesn't this compare favorably to the Xbox sales? Did I read that?
It seems, I don't know if...
Xbox One.
The way the numbers were going, at least up through the last time, somebody would release a number and then the other one would release a number and say, hey, we're at the same spot.
Yeah.
We're there. My assumption is that with Japan coming online for Sony soon, they're going to jet ahead in the total sold number. Although who knows if people in Japan are going to buy a console this go around.
Why wouldn't they?
I mean, they're a phone economy too these days. So the 3DS isn't selling as well as the DS did because people are playing those kinds of games on their phone. I wonder if there's room for a big hulking game console
I think absolutely.
in the living room.
People love their Gran Turismos.
That's true. Well, we'll see. Norm, you took an Nvidia Maxwell briefing last week, right?
It's today's the 18th.
The stories are up.
Yes. Next generation Nvidia architecture they're launching like they have done in the past generations with a low mid-range card.
So this is
$150 card.
This is a talk or a tick? This is the next core after Kepler, right?
This is a tick.
Okay.
Decidedly a tick.
How long ago was Kepler announced?
3 years ago?
No, God, no. A year and a half?
Kepler is Titan, right?
Kepler is Titan.
600 series?
Year and a half at most.
I thought it was over. Okay. I thought we were in the old office still.
Lloyd came in with the Titan when the Titan came out to build the PC here.
That's true.
So this Kepler was a 700 series, and this is the new one is still 700 series. The 750 Ti is their first card. It's a mid $100 card, and this is a card for people based on their market research and Steam surveys. It's for people who have their old like 650 or 550 cards, and of which there are apparently a lot of people who buy the $300 Dell machines and then put in a graphics card in there so they can play Counter-Strike. It's not going to run Call of Duty at 1080 high settings, 60 FPS.
Kepler's 2 years old.
Will's right. Kepler's 2 years old. But it's going to run, it'll run your games at 1080, most games medium settings 1080. And because it's based loosely on the Kepler architecture, it will have the G-Sync functionality and the encoder.
G-Sync is the monitor thing?
G-Sync is the monitor thing. That's the other side of V-Sync. So that's actually the most G-Sync, something we haven't really talked about. That's way more interesting than what they've done with the architecture of the card. So it's still 28 nanometer process, which is why I think it's a tick rather than a talk. What they've done is they've separated the cores, the CUDA cores, with their control logic. I'm not even sure exactly what that means, but the way they manage this CUDA cores, they've added more control logic, so it's not one. It's not one
each
control
block
logic
of
for
CUDA cores.
They split out into more blocks.
Yeah.
So to increase efficiency, and they say it's a 2x performance per watt improvement over Kepler.
So the idea is that instead of turning off a big chunk of cores when they need to save power, they can turn off individual cores. Is that right?
Or they can run smaller blocks at once as opposed to running the entire chip.
So
it's a bigger chip.
The upshot is it'll power off the PCI slot, PCI Express slot.
The entry level card at $140 will power off a PCI slot.
So you don't need to have
you don't need a
6-pin
which
power
makes
connector.
it great for your budget boxes upgrading with discrete graphics.
And it's approximately as powerful as like a 600 series?
The old entry level 600 series.
That's great. Which required its own power.
Which required a 6-pin.
Yeah, that's great.
But it's like your $150 card range. But do you know about G-Sync?
Yeah. I have never seen it.
I saw it for the first time.
Were you impressed? Did you have enough time with it to formulate an opinion? Is the first
I saw
question.
the differences that they were showing. But
so, hold on. We should explain what G-Sync is.
Okay, so when you have a lot of quote unquote core gamers, high end PC gamers, they want to buy a really good video card to run their games, other monitors at native resolution, because you always want to run native resolution with as much max graphics as you can turn on, and a high frame rate. So people are going to buy their 780s, 770s, and run it at reasonably like a good 27-inch monitor, 2560 by 1440, and try to run their games at higher than 60 FPS.
Because 60 hertz is the refresh rate of the monitor.
Of the monitor, right. Or sometimes 30. It's 30 or 60. What happens, though, is because the games can have different complexities in scene, if you can tell, if you run fraps, if you look down at the ground in a first-person shooter, your FPS will jump up. It's rendering less complicated scene. But if more stuff happens, more post-processing happens, it can vary. Your frame rate can dip. So that's why you want as high FPS as you can. But because the FPS is higher than the refresh rate of the monitor, and it's not at an interval multiplier, it's not locked in.
So when you say interval multiplier, you mean like 120 hertz or 240 hertz or 480 hertz.
you get tearing, which is a common artifact that you see in games.
And that happens when one frame renders part way and then the other one starts rendering on top of it?
Rendering on top. You get higher frame rate than the monitor can handle. So at that point, VSync is something in software you can enable that tells the graphics card, don't push out more than 60 frames a second to the monitor. And you're going to lock the frames. You can render as much as you want, but the monitor is going to only use 60, which is fine. And you don't get as much tearing, or tearing almost disappears. But for competitive games, VSync introduces is a little bit of a delay.
You mean in the time between the frame renders and when it gets pushed out?
And when it
to
gets
the
pushed
monitor.
out.
Okay.
And in competitive gaming, that is undesirable. So even when you have VSync on, you can get sometimes a little like a juddery motion when a lot of stuff's happening on screen. So what G-Sync does is it's both hardware on the video card side in the way the core works, and also on the monitor side. And the monitor has basically a variable refresh rate that gets locked to the video card, and so the monitor will shift its refresh based on what the card is outputting and matching multipliers. So you don't get the tearing, but also you're getting as many frames as the video card can push out.
So does this mean that? Okay, so first off, the monitor and the video card both have to support this.
Yes. And monitors are coming out later this year.
There aren't any out yet, or what? Just one or two?
It's one or two.
So we're talking about like 2/100ths of a second, probably.
Nothing that most people will be able to tell, but
Okay.
competitive gamers, it will matter.
When you were looking at it side by side, could you see?
They didn't have a demo side by side. They just switched through the modes, which
Oh.
they could do with macros, and you can tell the difference between. And of course, it was a very planned scenario where they had like where the frame
Super
rate would
high frame
dip,
rate game.
Not a super high frame rate game, but a super complex scene.
Okay.
Where even like the video card they had in there would chug at that native resolution.
Okay. Huh. It was real weird. So this supports that.
This supports that.
Seems like a card that it doesn't matter for, since who's gonna want that.
I don't think
feature is
people
going to
aren't
buy
going
this
to
cheap
people aren't going to
card.
buy, but it's going to be built in the future cards.
Right,
I mean,
right,
it's
right.
G-Sync as a whole. It works with the Nvidia Shield, which I'm sure
Again.
the existing customers may be happy about, and also because it works with Nvidia Shield, that also means it has H.264 encoder for their for the game recording. So that's the most interesting
And the Twitch
thing.
streaming.
Thing where Nvidia now has software that lets you capture video in the background as you're playing a game, and you can press hotkeys to save the video after the fact
So it works like a DVR.
Onto your hard drive.
onto your
Yeah.
hard drive.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I kind of
Yeah.
like that.
I like that.
That's a good feature. It's the Xbox One does that as well. It's really nice. If something awesome happens, you say, "Hey, Xbox, record that." And
PS4 does that too, doesn't it?
I don't know if the PS4 does the.
Maybe not.
I think it actually does. I think when you hit
The share button.
the share button, it gives you that option. But that might only be going forward. I can't remember.
This technology kind of means that you don't have to upgrade as often if you want to get a smooth frame rate.
The G-Sync?
Yeah, doesn't it?
I don't know if that's the case, because you're still going to be limited by the capabilities. Like this card still doesn't have as many shader units or CUDA cards, whatever they call them, as the higher end card, and as, I mean,
It
it's
doesn't get
unclear.
you all the graphical features, but it gets you a smoother frame rate, a non-teared, smoother frame
Well,
rate.
so the other part of it is that the next version of the DisplayPort spec includes something similar. When that comes out and when stuff will start supporting that is further in the future probably than this is, but it's a non-proprietary implementation.
Are Nvidia moving to DisplayPort?
Everybody
Everyone
has
has
DisplayPort now.
Yeah.
I mean, exclusively.
No.
Okay,
And
you're
some of these cards actually won't have DisplayPort. Some variants will have DisplayPort 1.2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
Which
I
we'll
mean,
need for G-Sync.
This is a I think DisplayPort 1.4, but I can't remember for sure. The non-proprietary implementation. So Maxwell, when are those cards out? Do you know?
The card's out now.
Okay, you can buy it today.
You can buy it today.
Very good. They've got some Apple rumors this week. Jeremy's ears perked up.
I like Apple.
The first rumor is that Apple's talking to Tesla.
I like Tesla.
That set off a rash of speculation.
Oh, I love this idea. It's such a good idea.
So there, well,
The Apple integration with the existing generation of Tesla's vehicles is nothing special.
Wait, what now?
The Apple integration with the current Apple integration. You get your Bluetooth stuff,
Current, yeah.
but it's nothing special.
It's like just normal speakerphone.
You're not
music,
talking
right?
about iOS in the car.
Yes.
You are talking about that?
I'm not. I'm existing right now is not iOS in the car.
Right.
But if the rumor is iOS in the car, I don't think it's worth Apple's time to do iOS in the car in a standardized way,
Well, so
because every car manufacturer is going to be different. I think doing iOS in the car is very difficult proposition.
The Tesla thing real quick.
Okay.
Because it's not going to happen. Elon Musk came out and said, no, there might have been a meeting, but what did he say? His tweet was, the one last thing I wanted to say was, my money was the first in Tesla, and it's going to be the last one out. So he's in.
He's in.
He's not selling. Yeah,
it's his company.
Yeah.
There's no reason he needs to sell.
No. Apple. There's no
He's
reason
Henry
Apple
Ford.
should.
Yeah.
Apple does not want to buy Tesla.
Well,
There's
here's
no
the-
reason Apple should buy Tesla.
So the speculation, there were multiple waves of speculation. Some was crazy, like the people saying Apple's going to buy Tesla.
Right.
The reason that people gave for Apple buying Tesla isn't a bad reason, which is that the markets that they're in now, growth is limited because they're reaching a saturation point for the products that they sell.
You mean Apple?
Apple,
Yeah.
Worldwide. Whereas electric cars have basically infinite growth potential at this point. And as one of the main IP holders, Tesla is in a really good position to grow as that market gets bigger going
and they're
forward.
across the bay.
And they're a good Northern California, Silicon Valley company. I think that's crazy. I think I think Apple would be wise to diversify some, but cars are dramatically a complex thing to build. They don't have expertise with moving parts,
Yes.
really.
No, absolutely. You're right. My feeling is every time I would love to see an Apple car interface. Like the entire dashboard, all the electronics, the interface is designed by Apple. But the problem is every time Apple has partnered with another company, it has not gone according to their plan.
And they've abandoned it one generation later, 2 generations later. Like
Yes,
that BMW
Motorola.
iPod thing.
Yeah.
The
original iPhone with the Motorola thing.
Yeah.
It was all bad. And so I can understand where this theory comes from, because Apple wants to control the whole widget, so they would need the whole car.
Yeah. So
That's why I think it's a bad idea for them to. I mean, they can.
I don't think Apple can work in the regulatory space that cars require. Like if you look at the amount of federal, national and worldwide regulations that Apple has to follow, I think it would be a significant design challenge for them.
I wouldn't say. I mean, yes, but they would be buying a car company that's already gone through all those hoops.
Absolutely.
And they did it with phones, and they're doing that on their own campus, which is no small hoop either.
So what I would consider the more realistic speculation is that either Tesla was meeting them to talk about doing OS stuff for the car, because I think everyone that agrees that the dashboard thing is kind of lame. Like it's a neat idea implemented kind of poorly.
Yeah.
The thing I think is probably realistic is that they're looking at licensing some battery technology from Tesla, because they seem to be the world leaders in rare earth batteries right now.
But different scale batteries.
Obviously different scale of battery, but if they can license some technology and get 20% better battery life out of the iPhone, that is a massive competitive advantage. If they can get the iPhone to a place that it needs charging twice a week instead of every day, that's a huge competitive advantage.
I want the technology where I can take the iPhone and then go to a battery swapping station, put it on the ground, and then the floor opens up and swaps out the battery, and then I'd come back later and put the battery back in.
30 minutes.
30-minute charge.
Yeah.
Instant charge.
Did you read the story about Tesla's first supercharger trip across the country? So they have a route that's completed now that goes from Los Angeles to New York. And they did the drive over, like, it seems like early in January when the first wave of winter storms was hitting, and went up. So it goes up 40 and then up to Colorado and across 80 from there. And they hit during the middle of this incredible blizzard going through Minnesota and all that stuff. It was a good, I think it was on, there's a post about it on Medium with all the pictures. It's worth reading.
They made it.
Yeah, they made it in like 2 days or 3 days.
They made it after
something.
all.
But the interesting thing was the charging times were almost always like 30 minutes, 50 minutes, 70 minutes. So they weren't filling up all the way. They were just filling up enough to get to 80% and then driving until they got to 20%, then filling up and, back and forth. It was really neat. It was an interesting story. And they were also team driving, so they didn't have to deal with hotels and stuff like that, which seemed like. The other big news is about the Apple smartwatch rumors, which I haven't read because I think that Apple making smartwatches is probably not a real thing.
I think it's a real thing.
I know you think it's a real
Why
thing.
do you
That's
think
why I
it's
put it on
not
the
a real
list.
thing?
I think it's absolutely a real thing.
I mean, do you think they looked at it
Two
and
eggs on it.
abandoned it?
2 eggs.
I think
2 eggs real.
I think that is not a market that has massive growth potential.
Wearables.
Wearables.
See,
Okay, wait.
now,
It's
wait a
semantic.
minute.
Okay, wait. Let's get tech. Let's.
I'm not making a bet.
Fish out the details.
Could you have said that about tablets, say, 5
I
years
would not have
ago?
said that about tablets.
Oh, you thought even before they were successful,
Yeah.
you said there's a market that if somebody nailed it,
A computer that you can hold in your hand and use on your couch without having to have a laptop out is a thing that is
we had that
And you know what?
before the
And-
iPad, and it
Not
wasn't
really.
successful.
no.
All the Microsoft stuff.
Those were shit. I used them for a long
Well,
time.
yes. Okay.
Just like a lot of the current wearables are.
I understand.
Exactly. Precisely.
So my feeling with the watches is that the problem with them is maybe this is why the battery thing comes in. The problem with the watches is that you have to plug them in too much.
Yeah.
If I have a watch,
Yep.
the nicest thing about having a watch is that I put one battery in it a year, or I have a thing that charges it every day
You
or
know
whatever.
how frequently we charged phones back in the old days?
Every 3 days.
Yeah,
It
and we charge
fucking-
phones once a day
It
now.
fucking sucks.
I think you're
And
exactly
we got
right.
used to it.
I think this is why we haven't seen one yet.
right. I have right now. I have 4 things on my nightstand on any given night charging, and that's 2 too many, and maybe 3 too many.
We're also all of us are special cases.
I
A
understand.
lot of
but
people don't have
a tablet, and a phone, and a
tablets
DS or whatever.
Exactly.
But the point is, I don't need another fucking thing on my nightstand to charge. When I wear a watch, I wear it all the time.
So I'm going to say that whether the definition of watch is going to be transformed, just like the definition of phone was transformed, or understanding what phones are.
It's an internet device. It's an widescreen iPod.
Are you getting what I'm saying? These aren't 3 things. These are one thing.
Exactly.
And we're calling it iPhone.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing about the watch. If Apple had shown the ability to do voice interaction, I would say yes. I think an Apple Watch is worth charging every day.
You mean the Dick Tracy thing where you talk to it?
Computer.
Yeah.
Computer.
Yeah.
I want to talk to Norm.
Yeah.
They can't
just
fucking do
because-
it. Siri doesn't work.
I
There's no improvement.
Oh, Siri.
Yeah, of course there's
It's
improvement.
3 generations old now.
It's going to happen.
I keep dreaming. I look at Google now. If I could get Google now on my iWatch, I'd be
what is
first
more
in line.
likely to say something will never happen, or
No,
to
no,
say
no.
that it will happen?
I'm just saying.
I'm going to keep dreaming, and you
Hey.
know what? Dreamers make the world move forward.
How's your Apple TV, Norm?
That's going to happen too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Analysts have to have some shit to talk about, or else people stop clicking on their articles.
Apple Watch, some wearable by Apple, absolutely. will happen.
Grain of salt, because this would be the first new category that Steve Jobs didn't launch. We'll see, man.
I don't think that matters as much as
Johnny Ive.
True that.
people say it matters.
And that dude is clearly in charge, looking at the shit that's changed since Steve Jobs died.
Steve Jobs had a lot to do with refining the stuff that Ives put out, and I'm just saying.
Are you talking about in the user experience, or are you talking about like grand vision?
All that stuff, like even refining the actual product. Like iPhone could have had a plastic front, but it didn't because Jobs said, "I hate the way it feels." It was gonna be plastic. But
Think of how many screens they would have not sold if they had made it plastic.
Exactly. See, it turned out great for the shareholders.
I wonder if stuff like the chamfered edges that chip and look like shit after 3 weeks would have made it past the Jobs filter.
I'm gonna say yes. Well, there were those rumored leak next iPhone designs, which look like
The new big one
surprise
for this year.
Yeah, they look like
The wide
iPad Touch,
iPad Mini.
iPad and iPad Minis with one chamfer and then a curved back. And I'm gonna say I would be disappointed if it was that, because they look like metal versions of the
3G.
the 5C.
The
5C.
Oh, right. Okay.
Metal versions, aluminum versions. But I would be disappointed because that would be the first iPhone that you couldn't prop up and have it stand on its side.
No, you couldn't prop up the 3.
That's
The
true.
first of the post 4 iPhones.
Oh,
The best,
yeah, yeah.
One of the things I love about
Post
post
3.
Yeah.
Post 4 iPhones.
I have to say, the FaceTime call with the parents while the baby eats dinner, you just put the phone on the table and kind of tilt it up against the glass or something. It's great.
You don't do it. You're caseless.
Yeah, I go naked,
Oh,
man.
I would be
Go naked.
buying a new glass every week if I went caseless.
Well, I don't have my kid doesn't handle the phone yet.
No, I use my phone. I'm just clumsy. I just drop my phone all the
It
time.
lives in my pocket. very careful.
Yeah, this is.
I think that another prediction is that that might be a big thing this year is sapphire screens that are
That I
much
can
more
see.
shock resistant.
Now, what's
and,
the deal with this? Is the sapphire that's on the button, right? The
The
new
thumbprint
iPhone
button.
5
and also
thumbprint button.
has been on the back, the camera.
The lens.
Right, the
Okay.
lens. Then now they're talking about the whole
whole
glass.
front.
Now, is this a special kind of glass, or is this actually made from the crystal sapphire?
I think it's a special type of glass.
Okay, it has nothing to do with the crystal. It's a brand name.
No, I think
It's. I'm not a material science person.
Oh,
Um,
never mind then.
and I had to say that with the wavy arms and the wavy head, like a material science person. But I think that they're going to move away from like Corning technology,
Gorilla
Like
Glass.
Gorilla Glass.
Gorilla Glass, which never has been confirmed by Corning that they were the supplier of iPhone screens, iPhone glass.
The thing that's changed with sapphire glass is the ability to make it at large sizes and then machine it at the right price points. So it seems like one of the things Apple's always done really well is invest in new technology just before it gets to the knee of the curve, but where it gets cheap to produce in mass. If you look at like the launch of the iPod Nano, the amount of those that they sold at that price brought the price of flash memory down worldwide to such a level that it made things like, it probably made SSDs and the amount of flash that showed up in iPhones happen 2 or 3 years earlier than they would have otherwise. And part of that was that they maybe didn't take a loss, but they were willing to pre-buy shitloads of RAM of memory in order to drive the price down for them. And they're good at figuring out where the sweet spot is on that timing stuff is.
So the other thing with this supposedly leaked iPhone design, the 6 design, the speculation is that it's going to be a bigger phone. That Apple is going to finally do a phone that's larger than or a different wider than your 640 pixels, because it's been 640 pixels, or the iPhone screen has been the same width since the first iPhone.
Yeah.
With minor variables, it's maybe millimeters different as they change panels. But the original iPhone was 480 by 360 or 480 by 320, but the same width. And then when they went to the 4, it was same surface area screen, but pixel doubling and then stretching for the iPhone 5S. And the rumors is they're actually going to go wider pixels, more pixels.
Wait, different aspect ratios?
Who knows what the aspect ratio is going to be, but not the same width, not the same
Right.
grip.
Okay, but you were speculating maybe they'd use the same pixel density as the iPad Retina.
As the iPad Retina, but use 5 inches.
Right.
I think they're going to do that, except actually pixel double that.
Yeah.
So
they're
having a
gonna-
4K.
Well, what's the iPad Retina right now?
The
Full size iPad
it's 1024
is
by 768 times 2.
Yeah.
2048 by 1536.
Yeah.
So double
4K
that. So that'd be technically
by
3K.
Yo, they're not going to do that. You think?
Not
What's the
those number of
benefit?
pixels, but cut from that panel, crop to your 5-inch screen.
Oh, that's crazy. I think. I don't think they can pixel double. I don't think they can increase the pixel density that much again. That would be a 400 pixel.
You're talking about
PVI
pixel double, not from the 5S. We're talking about pixel doubling from
The Air.
The iPad Air, which is
a 280 something PPI screen or something, right?
it's not. I don't think it's that
260.
high. I'm gonna do a quick fact check on the iPad Air.
The silicon
Wikipedia
glass,
page.
the sapphire glass grows from a single crystal. It's bananas.
That is crystals.
Yeah, it is
How
crystals.
about
It's not
that? A
glass.
single crystal.
They make it the same way.
Crystal Farms.
Similar way that they make a single crystal of silicon to slice microchips from. But apparently there's a lot of wasting and it's energy intensive and expensive and all that jazz.
264 PPI is the current iPad Air.
So it'd be 400 PPI. Is that right? Does it double?
I think it technically
doubled?
actually
Yeah.
doubles, so it would be 500 PPI,
Okay.
which is, coincidentally, if we're going to jump to the bottom of our list, the PPI of
The Galaxy S5?
The rumor, we know the Galaxy S5 is coming out, but we don't know what the specs are. But the current rumors are a 5.2-inch 2560 by 1440 resolution display, which is a 560 PPI
Whoa.
display
That's nuts.
on a phone. Yeah. So not impossible.
Is it going to look? So my question with the Sapphire thing is, does that mean the screens are going to get thinner?
Oh, you mean like a thinner phone?
Like the
in general?
glass is closer, like the screen is closer to the digitizer, so it looks like looks less. Like if you look at Norm's HTC One, that phone,
Yeah.
the screen feels like it's right on the surface of the glass, and it's one of the things that like my 5S feels. It's one of the things that makes my 5S feel less awesome is that it feels like it's sunk in. Anyway, I think we've talked about Apple enough.
I think the wearable is going to happen. I think that more likely we will have a future where people are wearing wearables on their arms.
Well, I
than
think
on
that's
their
absolutely
face.
true. I think that wearables are a thing that will happen in the future. I think that we are way further out than analysts are saying that we are
then
right now.
I think Apple's going to do it. I didn't say this year. I think they're going
You
to do
just
it.
said this year.
No
you
one
said
said this
soon.
year.
I think I said this year in
He
our
said this year.
predictions episode.
I said soon.
I would still say this year because I think what I say happens. So I'm going to say this year, I watch.
Okay.
Watch.
Jeremy Williams, creator of the Game Frame,
Just
says
watch.
it's an iWatch this year.
And
To have 16 by 16 pixels.
battery power will be a huge part of the presentation.
It has to be. I don't want to have to charge that thing every day. Let's talk about the Galaxy S5 since Storm brought it up. A couple of rumors came out. Barcelona Mobile World Congress is coming up soon.
4 days.
Yeah, end of this week. 4 days from now or 4 days from when we record? It's 4 days from now. So 2 days. Tomorrow. Starts tomorrow. Mobile World Congress. Galaxy S5 rumors is 5.2-inch screen. What resolution are they going to hit to get 500 pixels per inch?
2560 by 1440.
That's insane.
That's the same resolution as a 27-inch monitor.
That's the same resolution as a 30-inch monitor almost. It's a different aspect ratio. 16 by 9?
16 by 9.
It's a good thing for Oculus, all this
Yeah.
screen innovation.
Yeah, because the higher pixel density really matters for them, and with the phones, I don't know that you can tell that much of a difference beyond a certain point. I don't know that it's what Apple claims, but I don't think I can tell a difference between a 400 and a 500 PPI display.
So the weird thing with the PPI stuff is, and the PPI race is that while there are a lot of, like, when Apple first came out with the Retina presentation and defining the phrase Retina, they defined it as the pixel density from which you hold a display.
The distance.
The distance matters, so it's actually not just the PPI, it's the PPI with the extra variable of distance.
It was just enough bullshit to make it marketing enough
Just
that they
enough
could cover.
bullshit.
Yeah.
So while the iPhone 4 held at a certain distance, made pixels difficult to discern, people have different eyes. People hold phones at different distances away from their face. They're, different ages, have different length arms, their eyes at different stages of development. And there are some like physiological, the eye has certain like number of cones and rods and can only discern a certain number of lines of resolution, like as defined by eye charts, for example. But
Like you mean physiologically, the human eye in the average configuration has a maximum theoretical resolution.
ability to resolve lines.
Yes.
But when you factor in the brain also, the brain has the ability to interpolate. And so there are other, like, even more theoretical, other stages of theoretical perception. So the PPI thing really doesn't matter.
So you're saying it was all marketing bullshit?
Yeah, it's all marketing bullshit.
Okay. God, we've resolved that. The Galaxy S5 is also going to have a fingerprint sensor. It's the swipey kind.
No kidding.
And it'll tell you
like on the screen or not on the screen?
on the home button.
Swiping along the home button.
Swiping on the home button. And unlike the iPhone 5S, it'll tell you if your finger's too wet to swipe. If you hit your 5S and your finger's moist or has something on it,
Yeah.
it just doesn't work and doesn't work and doesn't work. And then it's just type in the code.
Yep.
Yeah. This will just say, hey, dude, your finger's wet.
It gives
Wipe
you
it
a
off.
reason why it doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's very anti-Apple. And when the 5S came out and all the executives at Apple did their big press their selective junkets, I think Bloomberg Business Week had that big long interview with Craig Mundy and maybe it was Johnny Ive. But they talked about how proud they were that they gave you zero feedback with the fingerprint sensor, and they said that other companies would have done some faux sci-fi thing like authorizing or showing like a spinning, like a thinking dial or something as you put your finger on there to show like decrypting your print. But what they did was just nothing. They showed the lack of feedback is something they're proud that they made the decision to do.
Well, but I think the thing they were saying was we don't have time to make feedback because it just goes that fast.
No, I think they're saying that they want to make it seem they want to both that it was fast, but also that it was designed to not give you feedback, so it'd be seamless as part of the experience, not to call attention to the fact that it's a fingerprint scanner, and to make something that, as you naturally hold your phone, it is something that unlocks.
So
that's more of their design choice.
Speaking of interface feedback, the Samsung phone is going to show a picture of your fingerprint on the screen as it scans.
So that's exactly the kind of thing that Apple executives talk about not wanting to do.
The finger that you're scanning.
And it could be one of those things, and it's one of those things, just like the PPI race, where it's the marketing bullshit that gets people, that some people respond to. And I'm sure that there are people who will buy the Galaxy S5 if it does that and be wowed by, oh, look at this cool technology. It's scanning my finger. This is the future. But
so can we... Do you use the fingerprint scanner, Jeremy?
Yeah, you know what? It's one of those things that I thought this is not going to make a big deal to me. But now whenever I use an iPad, I think it's broken. I literally, every time I pick it up, I put my thumb on there and I wait for a second and I say, why isn't this working? And then
you have to type it in.
Have to type in my
So what's your, do you get failures?
Oh, yeah. Usually when my finger's wet. But I don't know. It's just a matter of, I think I had to go back and set it again once I understood.
Wipe it, yeah.
No, not wipe it, like actually reset my fingerprint.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Because I don't think I did enough sides the first time.
The thing I found is that I try it the first time, and when it works, which is probably 9 times out of 10, I'm stoked. And if it fails, I just type in the code.
I like it much more for purchases.
I don't ever get it for purchases because I don't purchase stuff often enough.
Oh, see, I'm purchasing apps for the kids, and it's just great because I can go in there and thumb it as opposed to typing.
Dad, I need your thumb. I need your thumb.
It's gonna be all well and good until your kid cuts your thumb off, so he can start buying apps unsupervised.
Gets me at 3 a.m.
It's like AI
takes my hand out of
instead of cutting the lock
bed.
of hair.
Right.
Kid don't want the lock of hair.
He has the lawn shears.
Kid wants Touch ID.
He's been trying to look over my shoulder for the password for years. Now all he needs is my thumb at 3 a.m.
Yeah. Can you hold my hand? Can you hold my hand?
Dad?
Yeah, I'll hold your hand. What? What I spy? Wait a minute.
Speaking of terrifying portents of the future, router security has been a big issue the last couple of weeks. I don't know if you guys saw this, but there is a self-replicating exploit blowing through Linksys routers around the internet.
Is it Linksys or SUSE?
Both.
Oh,
the SUSE one's not self-replicating, it seems like, but the Linksys routers, there's a virus that connects to the router. It's scanning subnets owned by major ISPs, Time Warner, Comcast, Rogers, Shaw, all the kind of big North American ISPs, and it looks for it's E1000, E1200, E2400, maybe some of the WRT older routers that are running a specific version of HNAP, which is a protocol that ISPs and other people can use to remotely manage routers. So like if your work hands you a router that connects to your VPN automatically, they might manage it remotely using this. The viruses infect the routers, and then they start looking for other routers on that subnet, on those subnets that are exploitable as well.
And I assume that it can get through. It doesn't need any kind of special access through ports.
Nope.
Nothing needs
to
be open.
If you have HNAP turned on, you're vulnerable. The good news is that the vulnerability was fixed in the latest version of the firmware for the router. But when was the last time you upgraded your router firmware?
Yeah, never.
Yeah. So that's fun. That's good. If you want to turn that off, I think the protocol is called, let's see, let me find it. It's called, I'll close the page. Anyway, you can just turn off remote monitoring or remote access or something like that, and that'll fix that. The ASUS one is actually even a little scarier Because, the newer ASUS routers have this service called AI Cloud. You plug in a USB hard drive to the USB ports on your router, and then that hard drive becomes a NAS on your local network. And if you turn on this AI Cloud service, then it'll let you access that hard drive remotely from anywhere in the world. Seems like a great idea, right?
Now, I have this router, and it'll let you access your entire network.
Yeah, that's great, right?
Not just USB drives. It's great.
Terrific. So
How convenient.
If your network is password protected, you're okay. If your network shares are password protected. If your network is open and you trust everything on your network, including your router, then you should probably rectify your mistakes. The really super scary thing about this is that the ASUS exploit, according to Ars at least, Ars Technica, is exploitable even if AI Cloud is turned off. So even if you have the thing turned off that gives you remote access to the hard drive, it's still available. It's still out there.
Is it fixed in a firmware update?
I don't know. Doesn't seem like it. It's unclear which routers are affected. Definitely the N66U, which is a super crazy selling. It was their good 802.11n router for a long time. It seems like the best thing to do if you have one of those routers is just go to DDWRT's page and find out how to install that. Jeremy rolled his eyes. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of
But
work.
once. It's a lot of work for like 2 hours.
Good thing you use that Apple Airport.
The biggest problem with putting DDWRT on ASUS routers is that you have to use a Windows-only utility to do it. That's the biggest problem I've had. So in order to do that first firmware flash, you have to use a Windows utility, and then after that, it's a piece of cake.
You know how long it takes to set up your port forwarding and your virtual servers and all
You don't have to use port forwarding anymore.
You sure you do?
What do you use port forwarding for?
Or remote desktop for one.
Fair enough.
Lots of, FTP.
I have a home server that does UPnP setup for all that stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
why don't I?
Because they stopped making them because it was kind of a dumb. It's not a good product. Let's be perfectly honest. Yeah. So if you turn AI Cloud off, that doesn't fix the problem. The way people found out about this exploit is that, or the way people found out about the thing going around is that people who would find routers and leave a text message on the root of the hard drive connected to the router that says, it's a text file that just says, hey, you're vulnerable to this. Here's how to fix it. Go here. And you can turn off some services and maybe close those holes. But yeah, it's super scary.
Yeah.
I don't think that ASUS they make great hardware and very bad firmware is my experience with. I've bought a bunch of ASUS routers and I find that the default interface is not almost, but not quite entirely unusable.
What router do you choose?
I buy ASUS routers and then put DDWRT on them.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah. That's what I mean, I feel like DDWRT is pretty safe, especially if you keep it updated, just because it's by virtue of it being open source. It's peer reviewed and it's frequently updated if you're on a popular router. So if you buy a router that a lot of people buy with a commonly used piece of firmware, then the core software is pretty well monitored. Anyway, Ray Kurzweil, watched her. Do you guys know who Ray Kurzweil is, right?
Mm-hmm. He's gonna live forever.
No, I don't know who he is.
Go ahead, Norm.
He's a senior technologist at Google, recently hired, but he was a guy, one of the pioneers in AI. And
he's the singularity guy. And
he's most known in mainstream culture as the guy who popularized the concept of the technological singularity. The point at which machines will not only be learn and be have the smarts to improve themselves faster than we can improve them, and it'll be.
Is that his singularity? That's the one that because there's another singularity too.
It's the inflection point at which humans no longer. I mean, machines will outpace us in their growth and yeah. And
the idea is that beyond that point, nothing can be predicted, right?
I don't know about prediction. If that's the consequence.
Barriers of reality break down, dogs and cats living together, the worst parts of the Bible.
But from an ecological standpoint, that's at the point where machines and artificial intelligence become the dominant force.
So it's like the Matrix.
On the planet.
Cool. In our lifetime.
He thinks 30 years from now.
He thinks absolutely based on Moore's law and research. That's why he's popping health pills because he'll live forever.
He changed his life dramatically so that he can hopefully live the 30 years so that he can upload. That's his goal. The 30 additional years.
Oh, that we'll be able to upload in 30 years.
The idea of the singularity is that the machine capacity exceeds the human brain capacity, and then once that happens, it'll expand at such. Once the machines start improving themselves, they'll begin to improve at a rate that makes Moore's law geometric rather than exponential.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's also the premise of the upcoming movie Transcendence.
Oh, is it?
Well, and The Matrix, if you think about it.
I guess.
Yeah.
But he has said that the sea change that will happen when the singularity happens, it will not be, the world will be changed not like the Industrial Revolution or with the creation of the printing press. It will be the change for before humans and after humans. That's the type of change.
He thinks we will no longer be the dominant form of things on the planet.
So
anyway,
what do you think about her?
He thinks her is going to be reality by 2029, 15 years from now. Also, 2029 is 15 years from now. On an unrelated note.
2015, Back to the Future's 2015 is 1 year from now.
That's true. Where's my hoverboard?
That sounds about right. I don't know. I mean, that's a lot to ask of computers in 15 years, but
think about what your computer was
possible.
like in 1999.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a lot more powerful now, but it can't understand me, and it can't learn.
I would
That's a
argue
big
that
deal.
Google understands me better than almost anyone I know.
Really? Wow. I have not had that good of experience.
Somebody's yelling. Oh, hey, Joey. FedEx is here. Can you... Sorry. It's awkward.
What was I say? Her. Why that in 15 years? And why, like, because can we talk about her still?
Absolutely. Why not?
Well, hold on.
Let's not talk about certain parts of her.
I already spoilered by reading the article, but knowing what I spoilered, I wouldn't want to spoiler for people in the audience. Thanks. Oh, I know what that is. That's your Sancerre.
Oh, that's my Sancerre. Yay, I'm going to open it on camera.
Mailbag.
It's
Wow.
heavy. Watch out. It'll break the thing under
It is
whatever
pretty
that
heavy.
It's a rhino.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Snyder. I think 15 years from now is an unpredictable period of time in the future. Given
I bet we'll have smartwatches by then.
I agree
Wearables.
100%. Given what happened, given that this thing that I carry in my pocket every day and runs on batteries is superior in every way to the desktop computer that I had 15 years ago.
Yes, but it doesn't do new things. It just does more of the same things
No,
in
dude,
a
it-
Faster
smaller
and
form
better.
factor.
Google didn't exist in 1999.
Yeah, no doubt. But I'm saying that everything that does could have been done by an older computer, but it just might have taken longer to process.
No.
Why not?
There was not the ability to index and search the whole of human knowledge 15 years ago.
I see. Yeah.
But you're talking about scaling. You're talking about
But that's still just a matter of storage.
the idea of index and
accessing.
The idea, okay. The invention of Google is one of those, and I'm talking about the search engine, not all the other bullshit that followed on after that, like Gmail. The invention of Google is one of those, is going to end up being one of those things that we look at as a major turning point in human history, because they created a tool. Do you remember how shitty search engines were before then?
yeah, submit your website to Yahoo.
Yeah, you had, or you went to web crawler, and then you went to Lycos, or you went to that. What was the search? Meta search. It was a search engine that searched 4 other search engines, and you got 4 pages of
Hotbot.
results, and you looked to see what was the best one out of those 4. There was no authoritative search.
I agree. And Wikipedia is amazing, too, for its own reasons.
Exactly.
But those are still brute force, and there's geniuses at work here in terms of making it accessible to people and predicting what people need. But it's not AI. It's like a totally different thing.
I think that what's my point is,
But isn't AI in the same sense that before Google had its breakthrough of its algorithm and page rank, and then having the scaling computational power to index
run that, yeah.
to do that, isn't AI just, at least AI is in her, and the way we understand it, just the scaling up of databases of responses and
If
and neural
that's
nets,
true, then that's interesting.
which we have rudimentary versions of now.
But I can't. The way I conceive of AI, it's not just that. But maybe this gets into.
That's a metaphysical.
There's a
Exactly.
metaphysical question.
Yeah.
The question is something that looks and behaves like another, is something that passes a Turing test.
Yes.
The great Chinese box thought experiment that I've referenced many times on the podcast.
But is that AI or is it not?
Right.
If I can interact with it indefinitely, and it provides me exactly what I need to get out of that relationship, as an empty box.
Have you seen her yet?
No.
Get out of that relationship.
Do you think that's what Samantha is in her?
So
Do you think that it's an evolution of current technologies?
I think that the premise of Samantha and
Are you
movie
asking what the intention of the creators of the film are, or
in
what
the
you're
canon
supposed to
of the
believe?
film as we
Norm's
watch it?
interpretation.
In the canon of the film as we watch it, I think it's smart that the filmmakers decided not to dive into the technological
Lingo and nonsense.
reasoning and machinations for Samantha, but behaviorally, I think that it is that the movie moves. The movie starts off easing you into the understanding of Samantha as as we would understand Siri. She is a input response system, a far more clever one than we have today. And the tasks that she can do: index email, find email, and that's all just extrapolations of what Siri can do. Like we could see, more computational power, more storage, in personalized series, being able to sort through our email and find keywords, use knowledge graphs like Google, and have customized responses, just like Samantha does at the beginning of the movie. But the movie transitions once it eases you into that, does a really good job of convincing you that in that world, it is Samantha is a real personality, a conscious entity.
I think Samantha, as compared to the earlier Siri-like technologies in the film, does that. Like you see some earlier
You see previous generations.
Yes,
Not
exactly. Where Samantha is illustrated as something beyond that. And maybe that's the singularity. Maybe that the singularity happens in the movie, in the fiction, then. Maybe that OS.
I can't say more.
That.
We shouldn't say more without spoiling.
Okay, but the way you describe the singularity makes me think that perhaps for decades here we are trying to start a lawnmower with computers as a metaphor. Like you're revving up a lawnmower and it's like you're not getting the motor started.
Right.
But eventually, when the singularity happens 15 years from now, whenever, that motor will start after we crank it, and then it's self-perpetuating.
And after that point, there is no, you can't unstart the lawnmower.
Right, and then it's just going, and then it does something that I never even fathomed.
So and the thing that's happening now, part of the reason I think Google is working on things like Smell Like China.
I love opening boxes and smelling factory.
Because this was shipped straight from the factory.
Oh,
Give me some factory.
you want some factory?
That's the future.
Is that
That's the
factory?
future. Hold on, I want to smell.
We're sharing factory smell. It doesn't last forever.
Oh wow, that smells good. It smells like electronics.
So sterile.
It smells like ketones and
That is something that air
esters.
fresheners need to have.
That's terrible.
Car fresheners. I want to smell like the Foxconn.
I mean, but stuff like Google's knowledge graph is giving the machine, the search engine, the ability to understand context, and it's dumb right now. It's happening in a very I think that happens kind of manually still in a lot of cases. I don't understand exactly how all that stuff works, but my understanding is that when they add a new context to the knowledge graph, then they have to set up the parameters and all that stuff about what Google goes out and looks for. So it knows that
Brute force.
when you look for an address, then it looks for web pages that have certain structures that say, our mailing address is, and they look at the 500,000 different ways that people put that information on web pages and build a way to filter that for the top 2,000 or top 1,500 or whatever 90% is.
The knowledge graph, I think, is the biggest breakthrough, and extrapolating what the knowledge graph will mean for intelligence, computer understanding, is the scary and fun stuff.
Because you're right, the Google search engine is essentially, it's brute force, especially the early iterations. But now that they've gotten more into looking what the intent of the person searching is than what actually correlates to the words that they're searching, like that's the thing that's changing, is they're looking Google looks deep into your heart and knows that when you start typing, what does Miley, it knows the completion of that sentence based
it
on
also
what
knows based
millions
on
of other people have done.
searches.
Yeah.
Yes. And whether that constitutes awareness.
Guys, we're all the same. That's the lesson of Google, is that when I type last 6 minutes of, and it puts True Detective episode 4 in, like it knows exactly what the hell's going on.
It's all flat circle, and Google.
We're all the same.
The knowledge graph is it's having that dream, the same dream we all have.
Do we want to talk about
dream of being a person.
We want to.
And at the end of that dream,
I don't even know what's going on.
There's
now.
a singularity.
That I'm a bird and I'm flying into the light. Is that what you're talking about? Because that's happening every day right now. Birds flying into the light in Las Vegas, outside Las Vegas, and they're instantly incinerated by the Archimedes death ray.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there's a couple of big solar power plants that have gone up in the desert outside Las Vegas, the high desert. It's on, if you drive from Tehachapi to Las Vegas through PIMS and all that stuff, which we've done a couple of times in the past. You see the solar power plants on the left, or if you're flying back west from Vegas, you can see them from the left side of the airplane frequently. And the unfortunate side effect of having these acres and acres of mirrors, of thousands of mirrors, focusing their light onto one point that then heats up a piece of molten iron or some oil or something, and then uses that to generate electricity, is that should a bird fly in the path of those beams, it's not good for the bird.
And all we need is a giant mirror in space to deflect that light, and now you have death ray.
We could do that too.
It's like the opposite. It's Goldeneye. It's the opposite of Goldeneye.
No, Goldeneye was a nuclear bomb that goes off in space.
It's the opposite of
SimCity. SimCity had,
or to use another James Bond illusion, Die Another Day.
Oh, I don't remember. That was the Halle Berry one, right?
That was the Halle Berry one.
Yeah. The upshot is that some people are upset about the birds getting torched, but environmentalists are basically look at that versus millions of tons of carbon going into the air every year, and they're like, yeah, the birds will be fine. There's plenty of birds. So
there are plenty of birds. They'll be fine.
The upshot is the calculus, this is the Fight Club calculus, right?
Plenty of
There
buffalo.
are way more birds that would die because of the carbon emissions than will die because they'll happen to fly into the death ray. So.
This is not a scene that made it into Winged Migration.
No. Nor was it in the Planet Earth BBC documentary. Do we want to talk about The Tonight Show? Did you guys watch The Tonight Show last night?
I'm afraid I didn't.
It was on late.
I'm a fan, but I didn't watch it.
Fallon was pretty good. Will Smith, always entertaining. I got a lot of Twitter messages.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Good job on The Tonight Show.
Yeah. Congratulations on your amazing appearance. Will Smith and Jimmy Fallon dancing. Awesome.
Jada deserves better.
What did the Roots have any kind of different presentation?
They're not stacked.
Are they?
They used to be
lined up?
two levels. The new studio is a lot bigger.
Yeah.
So they used to be vertical. Like there was dudes on the upstairs and now it's just all spread out.
Huh.
Yeah. It was pretty good. It had all the dumb stuff that you expect from late night TV, like the completely scripted and prearranged. Oh, hey, do you guys mind playing this song that you're nominated for an Academy Award for, you two? We happen to have all the stuff behind the couch, and
Yeah.
And then Bono has to act like, oh no, regretfully, I'll do this thing that you've asked me to do, Jimmy.
I'm number one.
Clearly, no, he's number two.
Do you think it's going to be the same format, or is it going to be a little more predictable and cheesy and middle of the road?
I have to imagine, this is shooting way above our pay grade here, but I have to imagine that the challenge for them is to bring the audience that they brought from late night, the younger, hipper kid audience, us and youngers, to the Tonight Show audience, which is mostly people who I assume watch the nightly news and then just don't change the channel.
Yeah.
I never watched Jay Leno's Tonight Show. Was his show more of a interview show or more of a variety show?
The Tonight Show is always the format. I'll be honest. I watched both of the last Tonight Shows with Jay Leno. I watched a couple episodes of Conan. The format is monologue, either a scripted bit, And sometimes on Leno, that would be like man on the street interviews where he does the asking people questions and then filters out the ones that don't know who Boehner is or whatever. Or like an in-studio segment, and then an interview, and then a musical guest, and then I think it's out. That's pretty much it. I think that format is and always has been the same. So I assume Fallon, but that's the format for the Late Show too. Sometimes they'd mix up the order a little bit, or they'd have a food guest instead of a musical guest or whatever. But yeah, it's a sit on a couch. The host has a desk. He's not sitting on it. Daytime talk shows, the host always sits in a chair, but at nighttime they always have a desk. That's the big difference, as far as I can tell.
I wonder how Conan feels about this.
I think,
I think he's moved on.
Yeah. He's big on YouTube.
I hope. Well, Fallon's also big on YouTube.
That's true.
I think that's where they're going to compete more than their 11:30 p.m. time slot.
Nobody asked Letterman what he thought. He's just running out the clock over there. CBS.
Who's replacing Letterman?
Nobody knows.
It's
unclear.
Has he announced retirement?
No, he is.
Okay.
I think he still has a couple of years on the contract.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Relevance. Yeah, Letterman's not big on YouTube.
No, why would Letterman barely knows what YouTube is. Leno has actually a really good series on YouTube. His In the Garage videos.
Is he still doing those?
I don't know if he's still doing them, but I rediscovered them a few weeks ago, and I sat down and watched they're really good. If we had a massive collection of expensive cars, it's what I imagine we would be doing. Because they're like 12, 15-minute videos. He explains all the shit that you want to know about the car. It gets into just the right amount of depth, and he seems like a real human being instead of Leno.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I like those. So anyway, I assume that was just a way he could tax deduct the all the cars. I guess that's it for news, unless anybody has anything else. I'm going to play some music. We'll talk about what we've been testing.
Tested.
Adam gave me a tip this weekend because I needed to cut some acrylic. And he said I needed what are called unibits. And what they are is the drill bits that kind of shave from the side instead of drilling from the point.
Yeah.
They edge down into a hole and then just take a little bit away each rotation, and then they edge down a little bit more and they take a little bit more, so you can make holes in things that would shatter. I don't think you use them on glass, but I was able to do like clear plexi really easily. 1/8 inch thick plexi.
No kidding.
And I can do the holes 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch apart, which would have when I tried to do it with a drill bit, the whole thing just crashed.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And they're staggered bits, so they're like conical. It's almost like those things that you use to measure your ring size, or the size of a ring. Mm-hmm. It's like that, but in drill bit form. Mm-hmm. So highly recommend.
That's a great tip.
Yeah.
Unibits.
Norman Chan, what have you been testing? What
Saw the Lego movie.
How was that?
You tested the Lego movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the Lego movie. And
can we talk about the Lego movie?
I think we can spoil the Lego movie. Hey guys,
it's been out for 2 weeks.
We're gonna spoil the Lego movie. It's a kids movie, right? It's
kids
for kids.
movie.
I went in having seen the preview, thinking it was going to be unbearable. I hated the preview.
You hated the trailer?
Yeah, hated it because it was just so cheesy.
Did your
I
kids
assume you
like
took
the
your
trailer?
kids, right?
Yeah, Peter wanted to go. He's big,
No, it's a movie for adults.
he's big into Legos, so I took him,
Date night.
and I ended up thinking it was great.
So I watched it, and maybe it was a bad idea. I watched the non-3D version, the 2D version.
Me too.
And I watched it on a Saturday matinee showing.
Oh, never go to a kids movie on Saturday matinee.
And I watched it it's not playing at the Kabuki Theater in San Francisco where you pick your own seats and 21 plus. It's only playing in like big cineplexes.
Yeah.
So I went to the local big cineplex.
The Metreon or the Empire?
The Daly City.
Oh, wow.
Hey, that's where I went.
Oh, you went to Daly City?
On
Century
Saturday
20,
at 1 p.m. Release day.
Oh,
release
no,
weekend.
you
Last
went. I went this past weekend. Yeah, I went Saturday at 1 p.m. also, but the week after you. And I walked into the... I'm like, oh yeah, I can get there 15 minutes before. No problem.
That is the best
20
form
minutes.
of birth control in the world.
And I walked into the theater. You walk in, right? It's the second floor. You turn the corner, right? You do a smart thing. You go the long way. So you hit the... If you walk, usually when you walk into a theater, you're walking behind where the row seats are, the stadium seating is.
I know this is your forte.
And you go either left or you go right. And most people go right because or depending on how they go.
In America, at least.
in America, very very customary to turn right, and also for many theater arrangements, that's where also you see the next corner, and so you get to the theater faster.
Yep.
But if you go the long way, that's the way fewer people go, and so there are better seats theoretically, more open seats.
How'd that work
up
out?
the middle? So I went the long way as I usually did, and then turned the corner. I went with 4 other people, and so we were looking for a row of 5, and
Because you want to have a buffer. Oh, 4 other people. That's
4 other
5 people
people.
total.
Yeah,
Okay,
5
sorry,
people
math
total.
is hard.
And then I turned the corner, and it was, wow. It was a ratio. It was a packed theater, 3 kids to every non-child. Mm-hmm. It was like you could see the
What
head,
were you
tall
expecting,
head,
man?
small, tall head, small, tall head.
It's a Lego movie.
I'd never seen that many kids in a theater before in my life.
Oh God, Gina and I went.
And
to,
they're all like their kids. Some kids are
Oh.
feet didn't even push over the edge of the seat. It was just like prop forward, lean back into the seat, and their feet just stuck out there. It looked like little toys.
They're children, yes.
They're children.
Yes.
little people. These are your natural.
There
enemies,
was
Mom.
like a buzz of like children clatter, of like kid clatter.
I like seeing
Chatter?
kids movies with kids because you get their reactions.
and the reactions are raw and unfiltered,
Exactly.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots. Okay, so at parts of the movie, there was like they were
Daddy, I have
definitely
to pee.
gasping
Oh wow.
in parts of the movie.
Is this a G movie?
No, I can't be. There's a lot of blowing up.
It's Lego
You know
blowing up,
what?
though.
I want to say it's
I'll put money on it.
Norm doesn't bet money. Oh, Norm loses.
PG.
PG.
What? It's
always
they say
bet-
there's a lot of gosh in it. My gosh.
That-
Oh my gosh.
Gosh.
as long as there's no topless Lego ladies, everything's cool with a PG.
So
So this is incredible.
we're not even talking about like the actual movie yet. So the just experience of watching the movie. The lead character's name is
Hold on. The thing about going to a kids movie in the city that I didn't realize growing up in the suburbs, like on matinee, is it's basically like the fucking Muppet movie screener at the beginning of the Muppet movie, where the Muppets are all in the theater and they're all complete maniacs. that is the closest metaphor or analog I can come up with for that. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
so the lead character's name is Emmett, and at the end of the movie, his kid turns around and goes, "I like Emmett. He's my favorite."
So is he like the default Lego man?
Kind of.
Yeah,
They're
he's
all-
the construction
he's the
worker.
construction worker.
Okay.
He is the Neo, the Luke Skywalker of the story, if you will.
So the movie, you walked in, Jeremy, not with low expectations, which is a really great place to walk into this movie. I walked in with high expectations, knowing it was 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I still love.
Oh my god,
love the
I haven't even looked at that. Wow.
96. It was 99% for a long time.
Holy
96%. The movie cost $60 million to make, which is nothing when you're talking about a movie like Brave, which cost $185 million to
What
make.
do Pixar stuff cost these days?
150 to 200.
Wow, really?
And although a lot of that's because in pre-production and those movies take a long time to make. A movie like Despicable Me is like $70 million, and those make a ton of money. Also,
Did they have celebrity voices for this?
big?
Or like
Yes,
B-list?
Morgan Freeman's in it. Will Arnett, Chris
Morgan
Pratt
Freeman's in
plays,
everything.
Elizabeth Banks, Chris Pratt, and Elizabeth Banks are.
But they didn't get like Tom Hanks or something.
No.
Okay, so
No.
that's where they save some money.
They save a little. I mean, and then voice acting, it's you don't get paid $20 million to do voice acting. You get paid like $500,000 or $1 million.
Tom Hanks does Toy Story because he likes doing Toy Story.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Lego movie's made $150 million so far already. So
Can we
it's-
talk about the
So we're going to
making
talk
of
about the movie. The actual movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Earlier at lunch today, you were gushing about how great you thought the
Oh,
movie was.
don't burn Jeremy.
No,
on
burn.
this.
Because
Okay.
it's true. I
Because
mean,
you're like, oh my
I-
god, I can't believe the stop motion looks so good. And then we had like
Well, now
we had
hold
a
on.
45-second conversation about the stop motion in the movie, talking about completely different things.
There was a wonderful moment where Norm realized what was going on.
I went in thinking this is going to be CG, and then I discovered in my brain that it was stop motion animation. And what a brilliant idea, because anybody could have made this movie if they just had enough Lego pieces. And and I couldn't believe that they did all the explosions with Legos and how incredible it was. And then you told me.
And then I told you 90% of the movie is CG.
And then I felt like I'd been duped.
And you shouldn't, because that is still a technological marvel. The fact that it's CG, because they go deep into like their macro shots of the Lego characters, and
So you see, like, the individual bricks?
You see not just the bricks, you see the
Filthy.
seam, You see the casting seam of the plastic in the hair. You see the worn print of the Lego, like the decals on the bodies, and it looks so convincingly photorealistic.
So did Toy Story 19 years ago.
Right. And this is the 2014 of photorealism.
Yeah.
And the animation is scripted and rendered in such a way to look like stop motion a little bit, but in a convincing way where because there are genuinely parts of the movie, especially if the end credits is really stop motion. The whole end credit sequence is stop motion. There are parts in the movie where they composite this render with real live action footage of Lego pieces being dangled or whatnot. And if you look at the best stop motion Lego, the best lit, it will not look as good as the fake stop motion in this movie. But the movie does such a good job convincing you that
yes,
that it has the look of stop motion and a look of real physical pieces.
Yeah,
that itself is a technological marvel.
I guess it's a technological marvel. I like the idea of all these people who make these amazing Lego constructions having been employed to make a movie.
Sorry, Jeremy.
Yeah,
that would have cost way more. We know how stop motion costs a lot to make.
The interesting thing about this, though, is that the tools to render really high quality Lego models are on the internet for free. So I mean, probably I gotta assume they had a better workflow for it than what you get from Bricksmith or something like that. But this is something that conceivably somebody could make something small scale at home easily.
And Lego wants people to do that. They have tools and have sold kits to let people create their own mini movies using a webcam. Lego movies, but stop motion is expensive. There was a trailer before the Lego movie for Leica's next movie, The Box Trolls, and the whole trailer is showing you the process, the painstaking process of sculpting and posing and photographing and making a stop motion picture, because they want to show you how painstaking that process is.
Well, we talked about this on this week's Still Entitled too.
For animation.
The
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nightmare Before Christmas. They made thousands of Jack Skellington heads because each pose of his face had to be a different sculpt of the head, and they just made thousands and thousands.
Admittedly,
of them.
for Lego, all you have is different prints on faces for the expressions, but it would still have been a monumental undertaking to make that movie.
I thought the faces were CG.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I bet the faces were CG.
Well, obviously
everything was CG. 90% of the movie was CG.
This means, and I didn't even get this until this moment, but this is it. I have now seen a movie that I thought was photorealistic, that I thought was shot on film, that was CG.
You gotta watch it again.
It's happened now.
Wow.
To me. Now,
There you go.
not you, obviously.
I was
Well, Norm had information going in though too.
Wasn't fooled one bit.
You might not have been fooled one bit, even if you didn't have information. But I bet I'm not alone. I bet some other people thought it was stop motion.
I bet a lot of kids thought it. Just kidding.
Well, I mean, but the neat thing about a Lego stop motion movie is Lego is one of the easiest things in the world to do stop motion video
Maybe
with.
that's
a good way to learn
that's
that.
What I thought.
Yeah.
And
there's nothing wrong with this.
Speaking of kids who thought it was stop motion, my son does, because after the movie, I turned to him and I said, "You know that was all photography, right?"
Oh
no! So now you have to have the awkward conversation.
Yeah,
he's gonna tell his friends and. His friends are gonna,
I gotta nip that one.
Yeah, his friends are. You don't.
Embarrassing.
His friends are having the same conversation that we're having now.
Oh no!
Except with the fragile mind of a child.
Oh boy.
I hope his friends are not as big assholes as we are.
This is the moment. This is the moment that he knows.
So, the plot of the movie, wonderful. I walked into that movie afraid, and every time there's a great animated movie, good movies have resonance, have a thesis, have some catharsis, have some purpose that they're trying to tell, message. Especially animated films, whether it's Toy Story, Growing Up, Finding Nemo, Reconciling, Letting Your Son Go, Brave, Respect, family and respect for your mom's traditions. Up.
Bambi.
Also,
what's Bambi?
Bambi's also Growing Up.
Oh,
Bambi's about dealing with death, dude.
Okay, yes, and growing up and
being alone.
Right, what about
being
Fox
alone.
and the Hound? That's about how to kill your best friend.
I'm not so sure about that one. But at some point, and Frozen, it's about family. It's
about
family.
Little Mermaid. It's about finding a man in a harsh, unforgiving, dry world. Beauty and the Beast. You got one?
Beauty is not skin deep.
Nice.
Okay,
Well done.
that's good.
Well done.
That's
Same with
good.
Hunchback of Notre Dame, although
That one wasn't very good.
yeah.
What about Aladdin?
Aladdin is classism,
Okay.
and also wish fulfillment isn't be careful what you wish for.
Princess and the Frog.
That is also beauty skin deep. So the point is, a lot of
Akira?
these themes don't fuck with the telekinesis, kid. A lot of these themes they can be derivative of each other because universal themes you can tell a story 100 different ways, but
Yeah.
the theme, a lot of these boil down to the same theme. And I was worried that the theme of the Lego movie would be derivative also.
It has that Star Wars arc
But hold on.
to a degree, but it's perfectly
but-
suited to Lego.
Yes, but the way they tell the theme, and even knowing that going into it, like, oh, okay, so I get this movie is going to be about not being like commercialism and all about the Lego thing. But the
Really?
way
That's
they
kind of
tell-
ironic.
The movie is ironic in many ways, in that the message of the movie maybe doesn't stand so much in line with the fact that all the action figures and all the
Lego's
minifigs,
success over the last 10 years is based on commercialism.
and all the minifigs from the movie are now going to be kits.
Available to buy.
No
Yeah.
surprise that Lego Movie came out 1 week before Toy Fair in New York, in which they announced this past weekend all the kits from the movie are going to be sold as kits.
So, but isn't the bad guy in the movie somebody who builds his own things, not following the plan?
No, that's
Are we-
clearly the good.
that's-
I
are
don't
we
know if I
give-
want to spoil the
are we
movie
giving
for
that
Will,
away?
because we hasn't seen it yet.
It's a great part of the movie, but it's
I don't know if we want to.
you might
spoil
not
that.
be right about that.
Someone told me that.
They
Let's-
might not be right.
Let's not spoil the meaning of the movie and the great, because there are wonderful surprises
I want to
in
know
there.
what the catharsis was.
But I think the way they unveiled the catharsis and the meta awareness of not only the history of Lego, but modern Lego culture, and also modern movies like the Star Wars myths and the Hero of 1,000 Faces and the Matrix, that kind of stuff. The way they riff on that stuff is so great, and it really tells that message in a real special
Does that
way.
stuff fill in the gap? Does that? Because the thing about Pixar movies and Disney movies that's been good is that there's two stories there. There's one for adults and one for kids. A lot
Yes,
of times,
and there's
And I
absolutely-
assume that they
yes.
use the riffs on pop culture to fill in the.
I was
kid
genuinely
gap.
moved.
They don't have the riffs. It's not like a Shrek-like riff on pop culture where the movie's going to feel dated.
They don't have Eddie Murphy playing a donkey.
No Eddie Murphy playing donkeys.
Probably best.
I don't think that it's consistently as good for adults in my experience. I think that it's a fine. The third act is definitely for adults, but
Yeah.
I don't feel like the first two had a whole lot going for it in terms of plot for
I
me.
will
Gotcha.
say that even the first two definitely, some parts in like maybe the second act definitely did in the nostalgia for the old Lego kits
Yeah.
universes.
And they didn't give away everything in the trailers, which was cool.
Right. So there are callbacks if you've been playing with Lego since
Oh, so they have like
80s,
space
90s.
set.
Oh yeah, they dive into all the old sets and give illusions that stuff and in fun ways with that meta awareness. The earwormy song that's in the trailer, that I'm sure that's kind of what turned you off to the movie, like that in the trailer.
Yeah.
That is spun in a wonderful way, and the song is the Lonely Island guys.
Really?
That song is collaboration between the Lonely Island guys who sing the rap part of that song, sung by the pop band Tegan and Sarah,
Really?
and conceived of and produced by the lead singer of Devo.
This is a thing that was custom tailored to appeal to Norm.
So, and it's the most earwormy song in the past 6 months.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic movie. Deserves all its accolades, all its success. I'm not that surprised since the directors did Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Oh, really?
The original one.
Oh, that's the
Sony
best
one.
of the DreamWorks movies, I think.
It was a Sony
it's
Pictures,
Sony Pictures. Never
animation
mind.
movie.
I just
They
assumed
didn't do
it was
the sequel.
DreamWorks.
And they also did 21 Jump Street.
One of my favorite things is, without giving away any spoilers, is when these characters called super builders. Is that what they're called? Am I right about that?
Master Builders.
Master builders, which are a special class of Lego, with sort of like maybe like Neo and
Like
the people in the
Technics?
Matrix.
Okay.
Well, they're and also in
They
the
see
real
the
world,
bricks.
I'll give you the context.
They see the bricks.
They see the bricks. And
When they look out over the world, they not only can isolate a la A Beautiful Mind the bricks that they need, and they glow, and the part numbers
the Lego
appear
actual
in like
official part
CG
numbers.
next
Are
to
you
them.
fucking kidding
And they're
me?
like, and they like
And
see
they
can see
need
everything.
Need the axis from here. Need the
Yeah.
shoulder piece from here. Need the wheel from here. And then so they really Neo. They see the
Yeah.
Matrix, but also it totally ties into like the wish fulfillment commercialism, because in Lego canon, master builders like our friend Carl Miriam, like it is an official title that you have to earn from Lego, the
There are
corporation.
very few.
That in the real world
That's cool.
be
They use
considered a
that.
master builder.
And I would imagine people like that who know the part numbers
Yeah.
would love that.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, nothing like a joke for 24 people.
Exactly.
So you're saying people should probably go see the Lego
I think
movie?
people should probably go watch the Lego movie.
Okay. I wish my daughter was a little bit older.
And I want we'll revisit the Lego movie once it's okay to talk more spoilers.
We'll do a spoiler cast. See if
But
Adam's into
there
it.
were some people who were like, "Oh, I wonder what us as Lego aficionados and Gary thinks about the Lego movie, because a lot of the messaging in the movie may go against what we think of Lego and what we have said we liked about Lego."
Okay. Jeremy, do you want to talk about solder paste stenciling?
No, I can't beat the Lego movie. No, I don't want to talk about that.
Okay, next time. Norm, you want to talk about Titanfall? Beta's on.
Play a little bit of Titanfall.
You played
it's a lot of
PC,
fun
I
game.
assume?
PC. Yeah.
Mouse and keyboard?
Mouse and keyboard.
What did you think?
I think
Do you like the robots
real
or do you
fun
like
shooter.
the foot shooting?
I like both
Really?
a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you use a smart pistol? Yes or no?
No.
Think the smart pistol's bullshit?
I think it's a real clever way of a clever twist on the auto aim mechanic.
I think it
And
makes
also it totally fits in with the MOBA grunt fodder mechanic.
well, and the gamepadiness of the game. Like if you're playing that with a gamepad instead of a mouse and keyboard, it kind of levels the field.
That being the auto aim
Yeah.
portion.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of fun.
Okay, I guess that's it for what we're testing. We have one good question today, so I'm going to play the music and then we'll take the question.
Emails?
Well, but we do the other one.
Emails.
'Cause it's, we don't do emails. We do
Emails?
No.
Questions?
Boom.
If you have a question for This Is Only a Test, the email address is podcast@tested.com. Please keep your questions short, under 45 seconds or a minute. Or if you want to submit them in written form, keep them tidy. The first one comes from Alan Leica. He says, "Hello, Will, Norm, and insert name of third guest here." I'm Jeremy, I guess. My question is, I have a home theater PC setup in which I use a wireless mouse and keyboard from my couch. It actually isn't as terrible as it sounds, but I'm wondering if you know of a good universal remote that I can use for things like XBMC, but that also has mouse functionality so I can ditch the mouse altogether. Thanks, and always be testing. Norm?
A good remote for XBMC.
Universal remote that you can... I mean, the thing about XBMC is you can use any remote. You just have to set it up right. But the trick is what has mouse functionality. And I think the only thing he's going to find that has like a mouse built in are those
Media Center PC.
the things
TV?
that Logitech sells. No, I don't think you want a full keyboard. The clamshell thing. Do you remember what I'm talking about? The keyboard and mouse combo controller thing. I'm looking it up right now. I can't remember the part name. Maybe they don't sell it anymore. Seems like they don't sell it anymore.
I used it for the first time in a long time over the weekend.
What?
Google TV.
Oh, really?
One of those Sony Google TVs.
Did you update it?
No, but it was at a friend's place, and still works. Still plays Netflix fine. Does live TV.
Have they updated the Netflix app for it?
I think so.
It's funny because that Google TV implementation is just like the way the Xbox works. The Xbox One works with TV. The only difference is it doesn't require you to use the remote to change the channels on the Xbox. And with the Xbox, you get the compelling ability to change channels with your voice, which doesn't work very well most of the time, which I guess makes it not that compelling. The upshot is Logitech used to make a series of Bluetooth keyboard/trackpad combos that were kind of clamshell design, so you could fold it up. It was about the size of like a CD, and it would work great on your desk. I think it was called a de novo something or other, and I'm not able to find it on their site right now. De novo Mini is what it is. I don't know if it's still a product that they sell, but that's kind of the standard for that. I don't know if anybody else is selling something similar.
I think I got one of these $50 deals from Adafruit.
Oh, the mini keyboard with the trackpad?
Yeah.
How do you like it?
It's a Bluetooth thing. I got it to use with the Raspberry Pi and never used it, so I can't say. But it is tiny. And
How
it might do the job.
Can you use a? Can you?
No, it's more of like a cell phone.
Oh, it's like thumb typing.
It's tiny.
Not
No.
touch typing. Okay.
That's
So Adafruit has it. What do they call it?
$50. Miniature wireless USB keyboard Raspberry Pi.
There you go. I'm going to see if you can buy the De Novo Mini on Amazon still. And all signs say yes, it's $50. That seems like a pretty good deal. It's Bluetooth. It works with the Google TV as well, if you're into that. So I guess that'll do it for us this week. Jeremy Williams, we can find you at gamefra.me.
That's right. Game frame with a period right before the .me.
You thought about how the best way to present that was audibly?
Gamefray.me.
Okay.
There's no good way.
No, it's...
If it's not .com, people just don't.
I really want to know where
Game
.me is
frame.
from.
Game frame. And you just got to visualize the dot as you
Just
say it.
type in-
Game frame.
If you Google game frame, I am now a pretty top result. So that's awesome.
That's good.
Yep.
The .me replaced the Yugoslavia, and it's for Montenegro.
Are you going to, once the Kickstarter ends, direct that to that's going to be the URL for the community site?
Yeah.
Okay.
And one of the questions people asked me when we talked about this a couple weeks ago is if you're going to sell these after the Kickstarter's done, or is if it's like you have to get in now while the Kickstarter's going and that's your only chance to get it.
Yeah, I don't have a plan yet.
Okay.
I'd like to, but in order to do so, I need to order a lot, and that's what the Kickstarter allows me to do. After the Kickstarter, I'm not going to have that kind of numbers
Purchasing power.
So I don't know. I mean, I might not. This might be it. And in fact, that was the original plan. But now that there's a lot of interest, I might try to find a way. So I might either have to, if I end up doing that, I'll have to stock a lot of them, or.
So people
you
can
said
watch
you
your Kickstarter
you want
page?
to build like a, yeah. Would you be open to build, having like a reserve of 50 or so game frames?
I'm
going
to probably order enough to make another 100 or
Okay.
so. But beyond that, I don't have a plan. I might.
I mean,
just,
that could be it. I mean,
yeah, that might be it, and
Yeah.
that seriously might be what happens. And then
Right.
if somebody wants to buy the plans and the concept and the rights, and because it'll be certified for different countries. And
Oh yeah, let's talk about
right,
the
international.
international stuff. So this is a question that we got a lot when you launched your game frame, and I felt like the podcast was a good place to talk about it. You initially did not give an international shipping option, and which it's now on the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
But there was some FCC certification stuff that you found was really expensive or laborious to go
Yep.
through. Can you talk about a little about that?
particularly the CE certification.
Mm-hmm.
It's the European Union's electronic certification process.
So this is that logo that you see on boxes.
Yeah.
It looks like a C and then an E. It was like
Precisely.
Magic the Gathering had that same logo
That's
for some
funny.
reason.
Yeah,
With
if you
playing cards.
If you look around, there's a lot of cheap electronics that come out of China. Not to say China only does cheap, because they're great, but they have a CE logo that stands for Chinese export that looks exactly the same, but they're closer together. So
typography.
yes, so these are the things you learn when you're researching CE certification. But anyway, I was not expecting so much interest, so I figured I couldn't afford CE certification.
So what does that process entail, and what is the law?
I have to
say?
send the game frame off to a
lab.
to a
Right.
lab that has special microphones and radiation detection devices. They put it into a big container that you probably don't want to stand in while they shoot radiation at it. And
see what happens, and then turn it on.
Well, it's on while they shoot it.
And then you would make some laboratory assistant's day with the game frame. It's like, oh, this is the best thing I've certified in months.
Yeah,
this is so much fun.
That'd be fun. Yeah, I hope so. Maybe they'll give me a discount.
So it's like the thing in Elysium,
what?
the Matt Damon box. You didn't watch Elysium?
No.
it was a bad
no, I
movie.
did see that. I don't know what
Matt
you're
Damon
talking
box.
about.
I
though.
like that movie.
yeah.
It's terrible.
So anyway, there's lots
Different
of
opinions.
certification stuff, which is it's just a pain in the butt. Super expensive because their equipment costs a lot of money. But now it seems like I'm hoping to kind of break even on the CE certification. I need 100 or more extra sales in order to cover the CE certification, and that's after I discovered I could do it for less. So initially I thought it would cost about $10,000, which is pretty typical. But I think I'd be able to do it for about half that if I do a lot of it, as much as I can myself, and find a lab that's willing to work with me. So
Okay.
that's the hope.
Wow. And then you can brand the CE logo.
You have to.
Oh, you have to on every when you ship.
And the funny thing about CE certification is you can self-certify, and there's no board that you have to submit your results to. And you stamp that on there saying, I believe it's certified. And that's all they ask for to distribute in European countries.
But if they ever audit you...
If they ever audit you, then you have to show the results of your testing.
Right. Don't take that risk.
I have no intention of taking risk with my Kickstarter.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Real interesting.
Isn't that super interesting?
That is really
I thought
interesting.
it's not that interesting.
Well, but if you think about what that means, it means that there's people at companies that make products. There is a department full of people whose whole job is to make this certification testing happen. If you look at somebody like Logitech that has 200 products at any given time, that is a full-time job for a handful of people probably.
It costs so much money, though, and it's like this barrier to entry. This whole system that's designed around big industry, and this is like the maker community is now coming up against this. This is a rampant.
Well, that just means it's ripe for disruption.
Yes, please disrupt.
Disrupting
this.
governments. It turns out the governments frown upon that. You know, you got to come in with pitchforks and torches.
It's
and
not
stuff.
the laws that are the problem. It's that the laws are sort of in bed with the facilities that do the testing.
Yeah,
and then it's just unreasonable.
So
for
what
small runs?
I know you said that there was an opportunity to bypass that if you sold it in kit form for international backers. You thought?
Well, there's some gray area there for the FCC.
Okay.
CE is even less clear, so I wasn't going to take that risk.
Okay. So just because you followed the rules and dot the I's and cross the T's and all that stuff,
Yeah.
extra 10 grand or thereabouts.
Well, yeah.
That sucks.
I encourage people, if you're just listening to the podcast, to check out our video. We did, it's on the site right now, on YouTube also. Jeremy, earlier today we shot it, showing off the latest version of the game frame and those, a good look, I think, first real good look at the eBoy animations being played back.
Yeah, they look great.
And a technique I haven't really shown yet, which is rendering a movie to play on the game frame.
I'm so excited for that.
I can't wait to see what people make. That's the thing I'm most excited about.
Are you gonna? We didn't really talk about this, but we wanted people. We solicited pixel art and animations, and do you want to commit to showing that? Maybe your own Google Plus video or something, or come back and
the thing that people submit?
Show what their pixel art looks like on the game frame.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that would be cool.
Excellent. Well, I guess that'll do it for us this week. We'll be back next Thursday with another edition of This Is Only a Test. Thanks for coming by, Jeremy, and we'll see you all next week. Today's outro, by the way, is brought to you by Maddened Man.
Hi there, I didn't see you.
Test it.
I think I put the geometry. I didn't like that at all.
I think that had to be during Oktobercast when we were playing the horror games on the Oculus.
That was my favorite outro yet.
I have another one here that is just the epitome of the. It's so good. I don't know if I want to burn it yet, but I listed it as the canonical ending.
Wow.
And it came down in the list of.
Maybe it's episode 200.
I think that might be the episode 200.
What is it?
It's the canonical ending. Today's was I think it was while you were recovering from your Euro Truck Sim during Oktobercast. And when I was playing the horror games with the jump scares and Gary was super freaked out by it, we just started screaming. But I'm not sure.
Oh, you don't have it?
The one I just played. I'm not playing the canonical one. I'm not going to blow that now. We're still live.
Oh, we're still live?
Yeah, we're still live.
Oh, I thought we were clear. Well then.